Hello, everybody, and welcome, I suppose, to yet another live stream on both platforms, the Facebook Paratus one and the YouTube one. And you must be getting tired of me saying this, but the more of you that migrate over to the YouTube channel, I'd really appreciate it, for the simple reason that the next time Facebook decides to shadow ban me for a week, at least you can find what I do on the YouTube channel. So a lot of you guys have moved over to that side already. Please, please, please do consider moving over to the YouTube channel, because in future I'd like to exclusively do the live broadcast from there. Anyway, not going to ramble on about YouTube today. So as you see from the title, it looks like we're fighting the virus with R4s, infantry fighting vehicles like Casspirs, and then of course the police armored car, the Nyala, guys with camo uniforms and battle dress uniforms and their webbing running around our cities. You know, this is exactly what you do to a virus, right? You go out there, you find it, you fix it, you eliminate it. Military doctrine. I mean, Calvin Clausewitz wrote a whole part of his massive tome on war, titled On War, about fighting viruses, right? And the crucial role the military plays. Of course, I'm talking utter nonsense, because that's not how you fight a virus. That's not how you combat the virus. That's not how you combat infections. So the role of the military in the fight, I'm going to use inverted commas, the fight against COVID-19, is to enforce the hard lockdown, which means if people leave their houses or do stuff that whomever's in uniform deems not essential, that they must skop and donder that person, or fine them or arrest them and process them through the justice system for violating the lockdown regulations. Lockdown regulations which are very clear, that all of us understand, which is why, no one on the internet ever asks questions about what these lockdown regulations happen to be. It's quite clear. Let me get serious here for a moment and stop with the sarcasm. It's quite clear that the role of the military has nothing to do with flattening the curve, with fighting the pandemic, with doing anything with the virus. If this were the case, we would see South African medical health services set up treatment centers or be involved on the healthcare side of things from the start. We'd see the military handing out food parcels, food aid. We'd see the military and police working in cooperation with neighborhood watchers, farm watchers, CPFs. We'd see civil society and the authorities work together in order to facilitate what needs to be done. We're not seeing that. In essence, the authorities have gone, they shut civil society out, or rather, they shut us in, and they are now sort of doing their own thing unilaterally. And this is a serious question, what purpose does a soldier with an assault rifle and his colleagues in an infantry fighting vehicle have in the midst of a viral outbreak? Why are they there? Why would a soldier need an assault rifle? The soldier's there with his assault rifle to shoot people. That's the answer. That's why the military exists. That's the sole purpose of the infantry, is to find, fix, and eliminate the enemy. And funnily enough, let me read this to you. If you haven't come across the City Press article about Collins Causer, the man who was murdered in his shack by soldiers for allegedly violating lockdown regulations. His legal counsel, which is Advocate Tembeka, I'm going to butcher this poor gentleman's surname. I'm not even going to try say it, but a highly respected legal counsel, highly respected advocate, and he's taking the Minister of Police and the Minister of Defense on in the High Court about the instructions that were issued to soldiers. And if you read through the wording, the language of the document issued by the Ministry of Defense, it essentially accuses every person they see in Alexandra or elsewhere as a non-complier. And there was a particularly damning line that, the army must neutralize an enemy force. The virus isn't an enemy force. Let's be brutally honest about that. But to say that the military must find, fix, and eliminate / neutralize non-compliance, this is the type of language you use during a military operation in finding and eliminating enemy combatants. The rhetoric, the language use by the Minister of Defense and within the SANDF is one, or it's coming out to be one, where the populace is considered to be an enemy. How that stacks up with the constitutional mandate of law enforcement and the military is concerning at best, and it's outright borderline treasonous for the military and for the ministers to be saying stuff like this, to be putting it in it's borderline a declaration of war on the South African public. So the virus is the reason we have the lockdown, allegedly, to flatten the curve. To flatten the curve means we want to spread out the infection rate as long as possible so that the healthcare resources don't get overwhelmed. We've allegedly achieved that. Well, we've also flattened the GDP curve irreparably, but hey, who cares? I mean, Prof. Karim and Zweli Mkhize, the latter being our Minister of Health, have both come out and said the lockdown has done what it needs to do. There's no point in extending it, but we're still sitting in it right now. In fact, we're making up more and more ludicrous parts to it. We're making up more restrictive amendments to the lockdown regulations. We're taking away more people's freedoms. And now we're sending more soldiers with assault rifles and armored vehicles into the cities, into the townships, to violently enforce these state grabs at freedom, because if you don't listen, you're gonna get it in the neck. This is where we are right now. This thing stopped being about a virus a long time ago, a very, very long time ago. It's evident from this court case, the Collins Causa court case. It's evident from every single subject matter expert that advises government saying there's no point to carrying on. Yet the president hasn't spoken to us in what, a week, 2 weeks? If he still is the president, unless Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and the NEC are running the country, which I suspect they might. This is the current status quo is highly concerning. We don't need soldiers with assault rifles in our townships in 2020. We do not need soldiers with assault rifles in our suburbs, intimidating and bullying surfers, mothers with small children, people like diabetics on the way to the pharmacy. We don't need our armed forces domestically deployed effectively against the citizenry. And it feels to me every passing day more and more that is exactly what has happened. And there aren't enough people questioning this. Well, I mean, more and more are every single day, and thank goodness for that. But you don't fight a virus outbreak with the military. We're spending close onto, 6 billion or 7 billion rand to push these soldiers into the streets. That 7 billion rand could be used to support small businesses and medium businesses, regardless of their race. That 7 billion rand could have been used to bolster our health services. I mean, we're paying a metric fuck ton of money to a bunch of Cuban slaves to come here and work in our hospitals while we have doctors, qualified doctors, medical personnel sitting unpaid at home. Interns and community service doctors sitting unpaid at home. There are no spots or placements for them. We can't give these people a job. South African citizens who have qualified here, who are best aligned to make a difference. We'd rather go pay millions of rands to, the communist oppressive regime of Cuba for them to send us slaves to work in our hospitals. How good these doctors even are, I don't know. From what I've heard, they're not particularly proficient. So whatever. I mean, it's not. I wish it was my call to restrict that expenditure, but it's not. I'm just a citizen like the rest of you guys. And we're wasting 7 billion rand on pushing soldiers into the street to do what? To tell people to stay in their shacks, and if they get caught drinking beer in their own yard, they're beaten to death. We don't need troops with R4s. We don't need infantry fighting vehicles. This entire thing is a scam, and we've all been scammed. And that's basically all I really wanted to talk to you guys about this morning very quickly. I had the privilege of being on the Big Daddy Liberty show this morning with Sishle. That was on High FM, but it will be on YouTube, and I will share the link when that's out. Tomorrow, I'm having a chat at 10 a.m. to Arno Barlow about combatives. I already put the trailer of his excellent combative video collection. It's 200 minutes of training on my YouTube channel. So if you want to support the blog, if you want to support Paratus, please buy Arno's work. He's given us a big cut of every video sold, as long as you tell him that you can either email me directly, my email's on there, and I will facilitate the sale, or you can just let Arno know, email him and tell him Parata sent you, and then he'll process it from there. So it's good stuff. I bought myself a copy. It's 250 Rand. So that's my shill, my commercial break for the day. Let me see what all you guys have been saying in the comments, because that's how all these broadcasts go. It's good to see Shoal and Conrad and LaRue here and all the good people. Mark Lottering, hello. Every time I see you, Mark, I imagine it's the comedian Mark Lottering. So I'm going to just put it there. So I always feel like, oh, I've got Mark Lottering on my page. So that's pretty cool. Mike Sadowski, we starting to look like we need to stand up to government's heavy-handed approach. I agree. There are so many legal challenges. Good one, Sishle, Big Daddy Liberty is behind one. Go find a reputed organization, whether it's AfriForum, Big Daddy Liberty, whomever else has got something going. There are so many good court challenges and litigation upcoming to get this lockdown lifted. It's time we put our voices and our support behind those efforts. It's time we let corporate SA and business SA know that we won't tolerate them keeping quiet anymore while small businesses are being strangled into extinction. And while we are locked up in our homes, not earning an income, being starved to death, this shit's got to end. And we need to make our voices heard sooner rather than later, people. Like, I'll let you know where I'm getting involved, but Sishle's thing is a big deal, and I'm going to get him to publicize that a bit more. So if you want to get involved, you can, make it easy to do it. Oh, Charles, Skop and Donner was taken out of context, like that beautiful thing where Bekitsele now came up and said, oh, that cop that raided the mosque, he wasn't referring to the Prophet Muhammad. He was just referring to some random Muhammad, somewhere else. Disingenuous at best. And someone said to me, okay, but blasphemy isn't against the law. The cop shouldn't be suspended for that. And I replied, it's not about that. It's about a complete lack of professional conduct and common courtesy, basic stuff that we expect from our law enforcement officers that have not only been lacking, but they've just been thrown out the window in many of these cases entirely. There is a code of conduct. There's a specific manner in which law enforcement must interact with the public that a lot of these guys are just not doing. A great many aren't doing, and they need to be taken to task for it. Today it's the Muslim community getting it in the face. Tomorrow it's Afrikaners or Afrikaner charities or gun owners or causers or homosexuals or somebody else Bekitsele just doesn't happen to like on that particular day. He doesn't seem a particularly open-minded man. He seems to be particularly narrow-minded and authoritarian. So when he comes for the Muslims, we better speak up, because next he might come for us. And that's the whole point of that post, is it's not to give favoritism to a specific community. It's the fact that we are all victims when it comes to unprofessional conduct and a complete lack of accountability by the authorities to, for the crimes they commit and their transgressions of their own codes of conduct and oaths to office. Wolfhorn, sorry, just saw your comment now. Excuse me, I'd like to say, heck the police, frig the government. I admire your restraint, sir. That is the most clean use of language I think I've ever seen on my channel. So good for you. Good to see Rian. Good to see Tian van Sail. Basically saying, I think what we already covered. The thing is, lockdown was pitched as we need time to prepare. Now, no timeline was given to when they will be ready. Like, oh, we still need 2 centers set up, then we could stop the lockdown. Exactly. There's no living feedback. We don't have a time frame. We don't have a timeline. There's no clear goal or objective or plan to achieve the goal or objective. It's just like lucky packet announcement on a Thursday night by the president, and then the next day NDZ will just make it up as she goes along, and if she overrides them, she overrides them. There's clearly no consequences. Even though the president supposedly employs the ministers, he is clearly absolutely powerless to act against them if they defy him. So that's why I'm saying Cyril Ramaphosa is probably not our president anymore, guys. Not if I judge by the behavior. Here we go. Charles Buerta. The soldiers should have been deployed to guard and protect food and resource supply depots. Exactly. That would have been a sane use of the armed forces in a sane capacity. But we don't live in a sane country, do we? Mike Sadowski. The question we have to ask is why the military's chemical posture is so low. No mop suits, not providing aid to the people. A military force is not a police force. We had this issue during Operation Herrick. It would have been better to have the military saying field hospitals if it was really that dangerous. Abso-bloody-lutely and spot on. And a really good comment, and I agree with everything you say, Mike. And that again illustrates either there is no mission, or the mission is not what we think it is. Well, rather, the mission isn't what was sold to us in the beginning, and it's a lot more sinister than is publicized, and that's part of the problem. Dion, so this is a lot of talk and debating. When is an organization actually going to do something to have a mass protest? The problem with mass protest is if you try and organize one, they're going to put you in jail. So you can't organize a gathering because all gatherings are now illegal, even though under the Constitution, technically they're not. And I'd like to get a lawyer on a live stream and actually have this discussion with them. But at the moment, organizations are doing really good work. The SA Institute of Race Relations doing great work. AfriForum has done amazing work. I'm unashamedly a supporter of AfriForum and the work they do. I believe they do excellent stuff. And Sishle Nkobise, Big Daddy Liberty, he's busy basically collecting funds for a legal effort, and he's doing really well, a litigation effort against the lockdown. So those are 3 places already I can say, go check them out. They're doing what needs to be done. And remember, this issue will evolve. It will evolve as people become more desperate, as certain protest actions become normalized, they will become acceptable, and you'll be able to indulge in them without fear of prosecution, or rather persecution in this case. So keep your eyes open and keep your ears open and adapt your behavior as is necessary. But for now, I highly recommend sticking within the legal change. You do not want to get arrested and you don't want a criminal record. So for now, let's see what litigation there is to get behind. And make your voice heard. Don't stop talking about it. That's actually, I know a lot of people say we're just being keyboard warriors. We're not. The stuff of changing the narrative and of hammering it home mercilessly every single day, the role ordinary people play in changing the narrative and recapturing it is vitally important. So, yeah. The ANC plus SNF plus SAPS know they're fighting rebellion. The rebellion just hasn't started yet. Give it 2 weeks. Give it 2 weeks until the township folk run out of food and they run out of money and they run out of options. And it will get ugly. And I made a prediction at the start of this that we're spoiling for a Marikana 2.0 or a Sharpeville/Soweto massacre 2.0. And I'm still sticking to that point. Unless something changes drastically, that's what we're gearing for. And unfortunately, I don't see any signs that things are going to change anytime soon. Maybe we're surprised, but I don't know. How's it, Chris? Of course, you're allowed to share. That's the whole point. Share as far and wide as you can. Here we go. Anton, the Western Cape has a high infection rate because they do more testing. This very fact will be used to wrestle control from the elected Western Cape government. I'd love to see them try. You know, there is still due process. And the fact, of course, the more testing you're going to do, the more virus infections you're going to find. It's obvious. It's, you know, you don't even need to explain it to people with crayons anymore. It's that obvious. So, yeah, it's not like the Western Cape's going to ramp down their testing. The other provinces just aren't ramping it up. I think Carrick comments perfect. It's a scandemic. It is a scandemic. Paul, why are the Chinese police training our police? Why are they here? Sorry if this has been asked. No, it actually hasn't, Paul. And I've seen reports, but I have not actually been able to confirm if this is in fact true or if this is something of a Chinese delegation, police delegation that was sent a year or two ago that's been recycled and slightly changed. So if I can get confirmation on what's actually happening, then I can comment on it. But for now, I haven't been able to confirm that that's actually genuinely the case. Obviously, I'm open to correction. That's the whole point. Sean Murphy. Sean, good to see you. Cyril was on TV a few days ago, and he basically accepted that there will be massive job losses. Yep, they've already accepted it and are moving on. He is already talking about the opportunity that this presents to rebuild the economy according to their vision, how it should be. So on this, when the communists took over Russia after the October Revolution, they had a thing called war communism, where they aggressively nationalized everything and they collectivized everything, and they pushed full-blown real communism into working. And it led to huge famine, a complete fall in productivity. People started starving to death. They were out of jobs. They couldn't earn an income. They couldn't keep themselves alive. And it went down so badly that it nearly swung the entire course of the Russian Civil War against the Bolshevists, that where the White Russians were gaining the upper hand over the Red Russians, that Lenin had to back away and can war communism. It led to the NEP, the so-called New Economic Plan, which was relinquishing state control over everything except certain strategic industries, to allow the private sector effectively to rebuild and modernize the Russian economy over the space of 5 to 6 years, which was then done for 5 or 6 years, only for Lenin to die and then Stalin collectivizing everything again. So even Vladimir Lenin was forced by economic reality to back away from full-blown war communism and collectivization and everything. And he's like, holy cow, we need capitalism to save our economy, because what we're doing now is we screwed the pooch so hard, we're actually going to lose the war, and Russia won't be communist. That's something that seems to escape the ANC here, is you can't destroy the private sector to rebuild the economy as this revolutionary new kind of inclusive economy. That it doesn't work that way. The government can't build an economy. Only the private sector, the private individual, the entrepreneur, the people like you and me, only we are capable of building the economy. Government can't. They can nationalize and destroy. They cannot build. And if the ANC truly believes in this Marxist doctrine, they're going to learn a very, very, very expensive lesson in how this stuff works and how it doesn't work. And unfortunately, if they persist in this, it's going to lead quite likely to the deaths of millions of people due to famine, because every time there's been a great leap forward in history where communists come in with grand ideas and grand plans, you get there were two great Soviet famines. One in, I think, 1920 or 1921, one in 1930 to 1933 that killed millions. The latter one killed like 6 million people over the course of 2 years. Then with Mao's great leap forward in the 1950s, it was the 1950s, when they collectivized agriculture in China, that led to a famine again that killed millions upon millions of Chinese, millions of people dead due to famine. And that's why Venezuela has people eating their pets, rats and pigeons. That's why Zimbabwe is still dying from hunger, Zimbabweans, and just getting worse day by day. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here. Communism and great communist plans and schemes always leads to millions of people dying because of the economic effects of it. And there is no rebuilding of the economy, Cyril Ramaphosa. There will only be a great destruction of the economy and everything that goes with it. Just scrolling through, Sebastian, I think, hits the nail on the head. Hannes van Rensburg has 3 major issues that he's worried about, but I'll probably still get to them. I think you're still tapping them, I guess. Here we go. Kevin, when can I find out when the live streams are happening or scheduled? I only seem to stumble upon them. Okay, look, this is very impromptu. I gave you guys about 40 minutes notice. I usually try to do it a bit more. So Arno's one is scheduled for tomorrow morning at 10. The schedule pops up on Paratus. Whenever I schedule one on YouTube, I'll automatically put it on the Facebook page as well. But I will probably have to continue doing that I'm doing it on the Reddit as well. But I'll continue posting it on as many platforms as possible so you guys don't miss out on it, because obviously I like having an audience. That's the whole point. All of the live streams are saved, though, and they will carry on. You will be able to find them and rewatch them as necessary so that you don't lose whatever's discussed or the info in it. Sebastian said click the notification bell and set to all. Okay, thank you. You actually know more about this stuff than I do, Sebastian. I feel like such a boomer. And you again summarize it very well. Dion van Sale, the unfair gap between rich and poor has gone on too long. And this is the funny thing about equality, right? If Cyril does what he wants to do, there will be no rich. There will still be a rich and poor. We'll all be poor. The ANC elite, like in Angola, the political elite will be the rich. They will command all the wealth, and everyone else will just be dirt flipping poor. So the elite with their connections will be the rich. There will still be a rich and poor, Cyril. Cyril Ramaphosa will never be a poor man. He will never, ever, ever be a poor man. But he's happy to impoverish everyone else for his political Marxist indoctrinated bullshit. That's really, really what this is about. Arigeef. Okay, wait. Here's Mr. van Rensburg's things he's concerned about. Number one, community-based policing is suspended without explanation. NCC collective minute of meetings being classified as top secret regarding the cigarettes. I saw that. And corporates not following through with court cases after secret talk. All of these things incredibly, incredibly valid and real concerns. Number three, in a way as well, because we have a huge amount of regulatory and corporate capture in SA. Corporate SA is not our friend, guys. I think Ramon said this on his Morning Shot live stream. Also, do please tune into his stuff. I'm a big fan of Ramon's work. He supported my channel a lot. Morning Shot and Renegade Report are excellent, excellent products. So shout out to them. Please go check their stuff out. They do amazing work, and he did an amazing investigative expose on ENCA and how they are actually just a patsy and a mouthpiece for the government and not really a independent private channel. So please do go check that out. I even shared it on the Paratus Facebook page if you just scroll down a little bit. But yeah, so corporate SA, not our friends. Look, I get concerned when people like Magda Witsika, I don't even know how to pronounce the surname, but the CEO of Signia, when she, who has been a lifelong Cyril Ramaphosa praise singer extraordinaire, when she starts getting annoyed and agitated and worried, she's the last bloody canary in the coal mine. All the other canaries are long dead from the gas leak. So, when Tani Magda gets upset, then shit's gotten real. Sebastian, stop talking sense, please. Like, would you stop making good points? Not all police believe in this lockdown. They don't enforce fitness rules. I think the bad apples are being worse and only seeing the bad news. I hope that's the Daniel. I hope that's the case. Look, I made a whole post yesterday where I said I know a great many good police officers, and I hope to God there are many who turn a blind eye to the bullshit that's going on. I haven't seen great conduct from anyone of the rank of captain upwards. So if there are any high-ranking police officers that are actually doing the right thing, please let me know they exist, because I would really like some good news right now pertaining to the nature, intention, structure, and activities of our police. I need that type of good news as much as anyone does. So Daniel, thank you. Thank you for saying this. I do appreciate you tuning in and putting that out there. Dennis, good to see you. I want to know why they open gun shops only for certain people. If you have a permit, then you may purchase ammo and keep your dedicated status. If you have a permit, in fact, no, there's so much ambiguity about this. They went and they closed down all the safari and outdoors again after allowing some of them to open to sell winter clothes. The regulations are a total shit show. No one understands them. And they're being like, people are making laws up on the fly as they go along, which is why the situation is this clusterfuck that it is. So no, gun shops are no go until I think level 3. They can start online sales only then. So no, it's a mess. But there is a thing out. You can renew a license now under the lockdown. I'll try to find a copy of that write-up and I will post it on the page. Elaine, hello. An Ethiopian shop owner was robbed of cash by 3 police officers in Vryheid. I believe they confiscated cigarettes from his shop and then proceeded to loot cash from his business. I caught on camera. I did see that, and that's not an isolated incident, unfortunately. Sebastian Sense again. Most of ZA hasn't realized the constitution is not suspended. Shoal, my view on the first fund anti-BE fund. I think that needs some clarification. I don't think it's an anti-BE fund. Look, I don't believe in BE for the simple reason that it doesn't empower black people. It empowers connected people, black and white, who are willing to sell their souls to the government and the ruling party specifically, you can be an awesome BEE beneficiary. All you have to do is sign on the dotted line and sell your soul. So BEE is the ultimate snake oil. It's been sold to us as a method to redress past injustice, to empower Black people. Go check out the township. Speak to Unati Kwaza. I mean, I was on the BDL show with her this morning. Ask her if she's benefited from BEE. Ask any township entrepreneur who's doing their own thing, who's grafting, who's really making a difference in their communities, if BEE has benefited them at all, or if it's only benefiting a small selection of fat cats. So if the Freedom Front Plus has an anti-BEE fund, I'd say go for it. Go for it. That's an excellent initiative, because it's actually fighting for freedom for all South Africans, especially ones where you might be a white business owner employing maybe 10, maybe 30 Black people. You can't gain access to relief funding because you're not BEE enough. You lose your business, and maybe 30 Black people and all their families lose their sole form of income. How's that redressing inequality? How's that benefiting anyone except a connected elite? That's actually the correct question we should be asking. And no, I'm not against redressing past inequality, but there are mechanisms of doing that doesn't actually deny or disadvantage the people it's supposedly supposed to advantage. So yeah, BEE is a scam, guys. Unfortunately, I think it always has been. Louis Prinsleur, the ANC ban on cigarettes to save our lives and health, but it's okay to export to other countries. Spot on, Louis. Brilliant comment. The offer from quarantine case win gave me a glimmer of hope that not all judges were similarly left. Now listen, the judge, the judge that ruled on the BEE matter is an activist judge. They have a long track record of sucking up to government, for want of a better word. That was unfortunately that conclusion of that case, from what I've heard from highly professional legal counsel, was unfortunately it was almost like predetermined. And a very, very liberal, highly qualified, very liberal, very left-wing advocate came out and said that that judgment is appalling, and it is against the interests of justice and against, the overall interests of society. So if a lefty advocate tells you that was a bullshit judgment, then it's a bullshit judgment, 100%. Research shows that mortality rates increase when there are job losses. Absolutely. In the US in 2008, I think the correlation was for every 1% increase in unemployment, they had 40,000 deaths caused by it. So I don't know what those figures in SA would be. We don't have the same population as the US, but we don't have their safety nets either. So I'd expect a great many people to die from unemployment-related problems. The destitution, the poverty, the misery, the exposure, suicide, God knows what else. I'm morbidly curious to know how many people have taken their own lives during this lockdown because of the effects of the lockdown. Sebastian says he thinks the Chinese policing is old news. I have a suspicion it might be. I would just like to get confirmation on it before I take a hard position on it. Sorry guys, just scrolling through the comments. There's a lot of good ones, seeing a lot of familiar faces. But Squirrel is a businessman. Of course he is. Of course, like self-made, didn't you know? I mean, he only brought McDonald's to SA. Like, the chances of that franchise succeeding post-1994 in South Africa is only 100% guaranteed. Means great acumen. How's it, Laurie? Good to see you here. Pusabuti, Mr. Sitole, hi. It's great to see you. And you always tune in and you always have good points. And you know what? If you're ever keen for a discussion, I'd love to have you on a live stream. And we can talk shit, do whatever. Let me know. You can send me a message. You know where to find me. Some shops are open. Some are even trading with normal people. Well, I'd like to believe they are. People, shops have to survive. They have to pay rent, and they have to they have to survive. Like, the government isn't bailing anybody out. Hardes Seems like government's current strategy is to divide and conquer. He says something and NDZ contradicts him. Situation seems too convenient. My suspicion is to keep Surama Luya singers happy and false hope by creating the impression that there exist opposing factions within the ANC. Maybe I'm just overthinking. I don't think you are. I think you are spot on, Mr. Roo, that that's exactly what's been going on. That's exactly what the situation is. We are governed and ruled by the NEC. We're not actually being governed by our so-called president. Ari, again, speaking sense. Laurie, okay, great. So you can apply for competency, but without any of the training centers in operation, there's nobody to do the training. And yeah, that's part of the problem. That's part of the complete lack of logic. Fires, good morning. Can you find out what the duration of each level is? Government says we are on level 4. My opinion, we haven't actually gone anywhere. No, we haven't. Remember, level 4 is just level 5 with cigarettes. And then they took the cigarettes away. So we didn't get the cigarettes back. There really is no meaningful difference. There's a few businesses that can open their doors, but who are they trading with? This is a major thing. Like, the economy is like a living body with organs. Some industries need other industries to survive and to trade and to do business. So having this layered thing of switching certain parts on and others off, you can't start the liver without starting the heart and the lungs, and the brain can't function on its own without heart and lungs. You either switch everything on, or you try and switch your Frankenstein monster on one bit at a time, but it's not going to work. This is something politicians and other so-called subject matter experts don't seem to understand. The economy is a living organism. You can't selectively switch on and off as you please. It just doesn't work that way. And there are repercussions for doing it that way. Laurie, repeat after me. Class suicide. They don't want a middle class. In a true commie state, there can only be the filthy wealthy and abject poverty. And unfortunately, history proves to us that that's the case. Okay, so Sonja Net, hallo, goed om jou hier te sien, Sonja Net. Kompetensie is reg, dis aansoek vir nuwe vuurwapenlisensies als is volledig moet dit ingedien word. Okay, so that does create a bit of clarity. Laurie reckons there's supposedly 4 weeks between levels. We're supposed to be level 4, but you go at somewhere at level 5. Guys, closing commentary from me, because I don't want the live stream to go on too long. Otherwise, you're going to get tired of me. And I'm looking forward to a really cool discussion with Arno Barlow tomorrow at 10 about the importance of combatives, what they entail, what they are, all the good stuff. But we can't have weeks of level 4. In all seriousness, unless government lifts the lockdown in a broad and meaningful way and we all get back to work soon, and even if they do it today, there's still no guarantee that it's not going to lead to this. But if it carries on for another week or two, I will be incredibly surprised if we don't see major fires burning across this entire country. And if we don't see the shit hitting the fan in a massive way. Up until now, I am surprised. And many commentators I talk to are equally surprised at the restraint of the township folks in not burning stuff down yet. I can't help but feel we're always one hair's breadth away from total chaos, because you can only expect desperate people to miss so many consecutive meals and only be able to not provide for their children so many days in a row before law and order is not something that they consider to be relevant anymore. And we are heading in that direction if we're not already there as we speak. So yeah, it's that's the reality. That's the reality of the situation. So that's my closing. That's my closing commentary. Please carry on commenting. I like reading the stuff after the fact, and then it gives me something to talk about in the next one. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please buy Arno's video and let him know Parata sent you. It's excellent training. It's more than 200 minutes of stuff. And the cool thing about it is it's combatives training you can set up in your own house. You don't need to go to a gym for it. You don't need to go to a shooting range for it. It's good common sense info, and it'll make you more effective in fighting And guess what? If we have an increase in violent interpersonal crime, it's a great idea for people to learn how to fight. It's something I wish I was more proficient in, and it's something that I'm trying to spend more time on becoming more proficient in. It's been wonderful having you guys here. It's been great interacting with you. Thanks for listening to the Shit I Talk, and see you all again tomorrow. Cheers. Oh, better end